Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about the middle of your manifestation. So what to do in the middle, how to act, what to think, and what to expect when you're waiting for your manifestation to come. And basically the reason I brought this topic up is because it's one of the most common questions that I receive all the time, whether it's, how do I know that my seed is planted when it comes to my manifestation, or if you're just wanting to know, did you do it right? This is probably the video for you. So first of all, before we begin, please hit the like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who would not normally be able to see this video will be able to see it. Also, subscribe, and I don't forget. So let's just jump right into it then. So what is the middle? When we talk about the middle, another way to phrase the middle is called the bridge of incidents. So the bridge of incidents is essentially any and all events related to your manifestation that are leading you to the end, leading you to your manifestation. Now, if you don't know, the way to manifest, the way to get anything that you want, despite what it is to simply create a picture or image or visualization or scene of the end result, of having already received what you want. And after you do this, you essentially bring that scene into your imagination and act it out in your mind as if you have already achieved your goal. So in other words, you outline a scene which implies the end. Now, when I say the end, I mean after the end, after you have already received it. So if you want to manifest money, you would imagine having already received it. Not before you received it, not receiving it, but actually having already received it. You already have it. You've already used it for what you want to use it for. If we're talking about marriage with a specific person, we don't want to imagine the engagement. We don't want to imagine going out on dates. We want to imagine a time in space where you have already been married to that person. So whether that means you're imagining talking to a friend about how grateful you are that you're married, or a honeymoon, or something that implies the end has already happened, this is the key to manifesting your desire. And what comes next is essentially a seed is planted in your subconscious mind. Now that seed consists of something we have no idea of, right? And as it grows in this world, it's refracted as events. So in other words, a chain of events is going to perfectly unfold. Whether that be, if it's money, if you wanted money, whether that be you run into a person and then that person refers you to another person, and that person refers you to a job, and then ultimately in the end you end up getting that sum of money by working at a position. All of those things in the middle, they're not to be considered by us. We're not to plan out what is to happen, but instead we're supposed to essentially only imagine the end, and all things, despite our understanding, despite the human desire to control and manage and figure everything out, we choose the end, we imagine that to the best of our ability, we visualize that in first person point of view. That's a critical aspect to this. First person point of view, meaning looking through your own eyes in your imaginal act, in your visualization. And in doing this, as I said, you plant a seed in the subconscious, which consists of a bridge of incidents or a series of events. And those series of events will always perfectly bring you to the point where you have received your manifestation. So the middle is what we're talking about. We're talking about the time gap between the time you imagine and the time the manifestation unfolds. This is what gets a lot of people caught up. It's gotten me caught up. And so it needs to kind of be addressed fully. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to identify that you are even in your bridge of incident. So in other words, how do you know that you have actually imagined properly, in essence, right? How do you know that you've done this right? How do you know it's in your subconscious? How do you know it's about to manifest? Now, there's kind of like a preface here, which is that we have always been manifesting our entire life. Our experience is completely made up of all of our thoughts, beliefs, assumptions about the world, all of our inner conversations, visualizations, feelings, things of that nature, right? So we have always been doing this. Our experience has been, and always will be the sum total of all of our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is impressed by the conscious mind, right? And so the reason I bring this up is because as our life unfolds, and as it has always unfolded, take the time before you learned how to manifest. Before we learned how to manifest, we still were manifesting. There's never a time we're not manifesting, but we were completely unaware that we were creating our entire experience with our mind. So for me and for many others, some of this is very negative, right? I created a life that was not conducive to happiness. Now, and others have created lives automatically because they naturally have positive thoughts to create amazing lives, wealth, happiness, etc. But the point is that we were not aware that we were creating this. And so therefore, we were not aware of the bridge of incidents for each of the manifestations to unfold. So with that said, we will not always be aware that a manifestation is happening. A lot of times, I'm completely unaware and I'll end up in the exact time, exact place to receive the thing that I have imagined, to receive the thing I visualized, or what I've scripted for, etc. So it's not always possible to know. However, one telltale sign that gives away generally if you have started on the bridge of incidents is if you know and you are aware what you have visualized, what you have imagined, what you have impressed upon the subconscious mind, and then you start experiencing things which are related to your manifestation. So for instance, if I wanted to receive money and then all of a sudden people start talking to me about job opportunities or about how to make a quick buck doing XYZ, whatever the case is, that is the first portion of how to identify that we're in the bridge of incidents. And B is essentially not only is it related to it, but it seems to be drawing us forth. It seems to make us have to take some sort of action, or in essence, we become aware of it. It enters into our sphere of awareness, because all things that we impress on our subconscious mind must be made manifest on the screen of space. So in other words, anything that we impress on the subconscious, anything that we visualize properly and impress, will be made visible so that we can be aware of it in this world. And so those are the two ways to recognize that you're in a bridge of incidents. Now, however, like I said, you will not always know. Sometimes a bridge of incidents is extremely short or long. Right? And that leads me to the next part, which is essentially that the seed that is planted in the subconscious mind in the likeness of your end result can consist of events which are very brief or very long. So that means there can be many events. There can be numerous events. There can be 1,000 events that have to lead up towards the end result. And this is generally based on the complexity of the imaginal act that you have impressed on your subconscious mind. And so that means if there's a massive change that must happen in this three-dimensional world, then it may be more complex and may have more moving parts for you to get there. So it can take a day, a week, a month, or a year. Generally, if things are super simple, the events might be less or shorter. But another aspect with time is that the seed itself may lay dormant. So there may only be one action that needs to happen in order for you to get your manifestation, but things in the world may not be exactly where they need to be. I have found through my personal experience and others' personal experiences that sometimes things just happen one after the other. And this happens generally when I go on vacation or when I go somewhere new or do something that I am completely not paying attention to my mind anymore. So it's basically, if we get out of our own way and open up our wave, we can, in essence, and I have a video about this as well, in essence, we will be able to, we allow for things to happen, right? So now, what happens during the bridge of incidents? What are we supposed to do and what are we supposed to think? And this is very important. So just to reiterate before, we can't 100% be sure that our seed is planted unless we can identify the end. Another way to do this is to test that we can impress our subconscious mind properly. And I would highly recommend watching my video on the list method, which is something that I kind of figured out and found out about how to test or manifest multiple things super easy. In doing this, you can find how simple it is to prove that you are properly impressing your subconscious mind. And this happens with continuous impressing of the mind, or continuous imaginal acts, or continuous writing things down, and then watching how no matter what, they all happen. So, but rule of thumb is if you visualize properly, if you get a clear and concise scene and impress it, it will manifest on the screen of space. So back to the idea of what are we supposed to do and what are we supposed to think. So I said something before that was quite important, which is it's not uncommon to get in our own way. What I mean by that is we can, by our obsessive thoughts or by sticking in a process that or a lifestyle that constantly is replaying itself over and over, we can prevent things from happening. In my previous video, I talk about, holding on to my chair and not allowing anything to happen. Well, this is an example of this, right? So if we have obsessive thoughts, we can actually continuously manifest negative things before the thing that we want. This often happens with obsessive thoughts and contradictory thoughts, which again, I have a video on how to remove obsessive contradictory thoughts. But the power of the mind is that we, with a single thought, can impress our subconscious mind. A single inner conversation, a single I am statement, a single daydream. We have the power to impress our subconscious mind and then therefore manifest on the screen of space. So if we have consistent negative thoughts as it relates to our manifestation, like if I want to get married, but I consistently am thinking that this specific person doesn't like me, it's never going to happen, they're going to cheat on me, all of these things, we can actually plant seeds that will come before that end result. So it essentially perpetuates this middle ad infinitum, right? And that's a very important concept to grasp. Like I said, I have another video on how to permanently remove obsessive thoughts. But the ideal way to not get in our own way is to not think about the thing after we have successfully impressed it upon our subconscious mind. Now, you can think about it, right? You can think of what's going to happen when it happens, whatever the case is. But what my point here is we're trying to avoid obsessive negative thoughts, right? Or fear, or a preoccupied feeling that you can't stop thinking about it. And again, I keep naming this, but I have other videos on how to drop your desire. But when we can hyper-focus on something else entirely, when we can let our desire go for spans of time, this is when action in the world happens, right? This is when things begin to unfold. And you'll watch things happen way quicker than if you fixate on them. And so the last part I want to talk about here is the actions that you should take. So the bridge of incidents, as I said before, is something that's always unfolding. Right now, I am in a bridge of incidents. I just am not sure which bridge of incidents or how many bridge of incidents, how many middles I am in. We can be in many at once, right? And I'm probably not going to know until I see some signs or I see something related to the end result. And so forceful action to try to force my way into the end result to make it happen faster is a no-no. And it's kind of like toying with the fabric of reality. And we can oftentimes, with force, we will find repercussions. I have videos on that as well. What happens when you try to force something? And what will happen is, like, I've had experiences with trying to buy things or trying to go places, or this one time I was trying to get a tattoo and I was forcing my way to do it. None of the stars were aligning for this. I ended up smashing my car. It ended up, there was a lot of other things that happened that night. It was just not cool. But this is the type of thing that happens. You'll find this often when you try to force texting someone, or you're trying to force someone to become the person you want them to be. Oftentimes you will be met with resistance and the complete opposite of what you want. And so the idea is to just let things go naturally. Just as before, when we didn't know how to manifest, we had no idea that we were looking for things. We had no idea that we had to force events to happen, right? Some of us did this and were met with resistance, like me, even before I knew. But generally speaking, most of our life is run a lot on autopilot. And if we can just live our life without consistently trying to force our way into the situation, then you will watch how much easier the bridge of incidents can go, right? When we force ourselves, we generally also get stuck in the bridge of incidents. And all we want to do is get to the end, because that is what we imagine. That is our desire. So don't force things. Don't do things that don't feel natural, right? Impulsive actions are generally the best ones. If you feel like you're trying to force something, it's probably not the right action. So listen, I hope this helped give you a little more insight on what the middle is, how to deal with it, and what's the bridge of incidents. So definitely apply this when you're looking and trying to figure out or asking yourself, did I do this properly? Because if you can just follow those steps, then your manifestations are going to come so much easier. So listen, I hope you like this. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more laser focused, very broken down systematic methods on how to manifest anything that you want. Hit the bell icon to get notified for the next video, and stay tuned for more. Thank you so much for watching.